So would you like to read us a poem, if you would be so kind, from your book?
Yeah, I'm going to start with a poem which covers a great deal of ground. And I've chosen it because it was written when I was working for a month on Captiva Island in Florida at painter Bob Rauschenberg's former estate, which is now a place that artists are invited to come and work intensively together and alone for a week. This poem, it has in it the International Space Station. It has in it the geomorphology of Florida's land formation. It also has the Syrian civil war, terrorism, and the abiding refugee crisis in the Mediterranean. But I picked it because it did happen on Captiva. Day beginning with seeing the International Space Station and a full moon over the Gulf of Mexico and all its invisible fishes. None of this had to happen. Not Florida, not the ibis's beak, not water, not the horseshoe crab's empty body, and not the living starfish. Evolution might have turned left at the corner and gone down another street entirely. The asteroid might have missed. The seams of limestone need not have been susceptible to sand and mangroves. The radio might have found a different music. The hips of one man and the hips of another might have stood beside each other on a bus in Aleppo and recognized themselves as long-lost brothers. The key could have broken off in the lock, and the nail can refused its lid. I might have been the fish the brown pelican swallowed. You might have been the way the moon kept not setting, long after we thought it would, long after the sun was catching inside the low wave curls coming in at a certain angle. The light might not have been eaten again by its moving. If the unbearable were not weightless, we might yet buckle under the grief of what hasn't changed yet. Across the world, a man pulls a woman from the water, from which the leapt from overfilled boat has entirely vanished. From the water pulls one child, another. Both are living, and both will continue to live. This did not have to happen. No part of this had to happen.
Well, what a moving poem. It's just exquisite. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've all seen those images on TV, and it just all comes back very strongly when we hear those lines. So thank you.
Let them not say. Let them not say we did not see it. We saw. Let them not say we did not hear it. We heard. Let them not say they did not taste it. We ate. We trembled. Let them not say it was not spoken, not written. We spoke. We witnessed with voices and hands. Let them not say they did nothing. We did not enough. Let them say, as they must say something, a kerosene beauty, it burned. Let them say, we warmed ourselves by it, read by its light, praised, and it burned.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to think what would be another. Do you have a poem you especially would like to hear read? There are so many I could.
Yes, I have a couple that I have little post-it things on. One I really love. It's a little longer, but you go to sleep in one room and wake in another.
Ah, yes.
I absolutely love that poem.
I would be thrilled to read that. Do you have the page handy?
Yes, 21.
21, okay. So that poem I will add because this book was published on March 10th, and March 10th was, as near as I can tell, the very day that the United States understood what the pandemic of coronavirus was going to be. Um, this line, and one of the lines in this poem, "You go to sleep in one world and wake in another," that was my experience between March 9th and March 11th. Everything changed. I was supposed to be traveling around on book tour, and I did the first 3 readings, and everything after that canceled. I went home, I quarantined, and you know, a week later, the entire Bay Area was quarantining with me. And so, you know, this poem was not written with that in mind, but one of the interesting things about poetry is how poems often speak into events that they were not originally able to know about when they wrote. So this poem, I was simply thinking about, you know, the course of my life. I'm a certain age now. I remember as a young woman standing in Central Park watching the moon landing.
Oh, yes.
And this poem was written just around the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So here it is. You go to sleep in one room and wake in another. You go to sleep in one room and wake in another. You go to sleep in one time and wake in another. Men land on the moon, viewed in blurred black and white in static on a big screen in Central Park, standing in darkness with others. Your grandfather did not see this. Your grandchildren will not see this. Soon now, 50 years back. Unemphatic, the wheelbarrowed stars hung above. Many days, like a nephew, resemble the one beforehand, but they are not the one beforehand. Each was singular, spendable, eaten with pepper and salt. You go to sleep in one person's bed and wake in another's. Your face after toweling changed from the face that was washed. You go to sleep in one world and wake in another. You who were not your life, nor were stranger to it. You who were not your name, your ribs, your skin, will go as a suitcase that takes inside it the room. Only after you know this can you know this. As a knocked glass that loses what has been spilled, you will know this.
Thank you so much. That is a tremendous poem, and it just, so many parts of it just speak to me every time I read them. It's just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Should I end with a shorter one, perhaps?
Yes, please.
So this poem was written. One of the things about getting to hear poems on The Voice is you get to hear the gossip. I think poems should be able to live without their backstory, but if I'm telling people poems, I might as well give them the backstory. And so, you know, often I think people think that poems are conjured out of the air and only the imagination. And many of my poems are precipitated by some actual event, which then causes me, because I have brought it into a poem, to have different thoughts than I would have if I simply witnessed the event, or if I weren't writing poems about things. That's part of what I meant when I was talking earlier about the practice of poetry over my lifetime has allowed me to understand more largely and feel my life in more saturated colors. So the day of the total eclipse that happened across the northern part of the country, it was an 83% eclipse in the place where I was. I was in upstate New York, and I was preparing, as many people were, to look at it through a pinhole cardboard box I had made. And just as I was on my way to the place with, you know, the best sky that I was about to look at it, an enormous pine tree. It was a sunny day, no weather whatsoever, and an absolutely enormous old pine tree came down for no perceptible reason. And so this poem was my response to thinking about that. And, probably it had nothing to do with the eclipse, but somehow that feeling of omen infused the poem. No wind, no rain. No wind, no rain. The tree just fell as a piece of fruit does. But no, not fruit, not ripe, not fell. It broke, it shattered. One cone's addition of resinous cell sap, one small-bodied bird arriving to tap for a beetle. It shattered. What word, what act was it we thought did not matter?